All right. Thanks, Patch. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into the Week 5 edition of the Sunday Sideline Report here on the SIN YouTube channel. The old ops guy, the pun master with you. Mark, how we doing today?
Well, it's the first Sunday I woke up and I don't have to clean anything, so I'm happy. However, my heart's beating through its chest because tonight, might be the regular Week 5 game, but it's basically the NFC Championship game. And we'll get into that later in the broadcast.
We will get into that later. We're going to start this on a sad note. Bears legend and Pro Football Hall of Famer Dick Butkus passed away on Thursday night at the age of 80. I'm just going to try to find the Bears statement on that really quick, but Mark, go ahead on Dick Butkus.
So I will be doing a extensive article on the career and the humanitarian that Dick Butkus was. He was an amazing footballer. He played a great game. He kind of changed linebacking in the ways that future players like Lawrence Taylor and now Micah Parsons is doing. His humanitarian efforts, whether it was to charities in his hometown, high schools across the country supporting football play, and a lot in Pee-wee football. So I'll be doing a very extensive article. He passed away at the age of 80, and the thoughts and prayers for the Sports Insanity Network do go out to the Butkus family. And one thing, just to put a smile on all our face, we all now know when we say we're going to kick your butts, we're going to have his name popping up in our heads forever.
Yeah, here's the statement from Bears chairman George H. McCaskey. Dick was the ultimate Bear and one of the greatest players in NFL history. He was Chicago's son. He exuded what our great city is about, and not coincidentally what George Halas looked for in a player: toughness, smarts, instincts, passion, and leadership. He refused to accept anything less than the best from himself or from his teammates. When we dedicated the George Halas statue at our team headquarters, we asked Dick to speak at the ceremony because we knew he spoke for Papa Bear. Dick had a gruff manner, and maybe that kept some people from approaching him, but he actually had a soft touch. His legacy of philanthropy included a mission of ridding performance-enhancing drugs from sports and promoting heart health. His contributions to the game he loved will live forever, and we are grateful he was able to be at our home opener this year to be celebrated one last time by his many fans. We extend our condolences to Helen, Dick's high school sweetheart and wife of 60 years, and their family. So, and if you look at his career, it wasn't like it was a long, 15, 20 years.
Well, football back then is different now. I mean, there were less protection, less padding, injuries were played through. So the average life of a football player back then was maybe 8-9 years.
Yeah, and that's the number on the dot, 1965, 1973.
Yeah, but he changed the linebacking game during his time.
Oh, 100%. Think of Bears linebackers for a minute. You have a guy like Dick Butkus, and then as you go through the years, you get a guy like Mike Singletary.
Yeah.
And then you transition into the late 90s, 2000s, Brian Urlacher.
I mean,
that is as prestigious of a position that you can get.
Yeah, the linebacker position since the mid-70s has really become the focus of defense when, even though we consider, cornerback and safety is, some of the harder playing positions, but linebacking technically controls the whole game. And they're the ones who make changes and make the audibles. So I always have a lot of respect for the linebacking crew. And when you look, like Mike just pointed out, the three names you just put there, Buckets, Mike Singletary during the 80s, and then Brian Urlacher, three of the greatest linebackers to ever step on a football field.
And all three are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
That they are.
I mean, playing linebacker for the Bears has got to be like playing quarterback for the Packers. Like, we list off those three, and then you go into the Packer quarterback situation of Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, guys like that, who will be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Mm.
It's a legacy. So, again, to the family and to the Bears. The Bears as well. But the Bears, let's be honest, because we'll dive into what happened Thursday night for the Bears, because Dick Butkus was watching over them as they got their first win of the year, a 40-20 win over the Washington Commanders. Justin Fields might have had his best game as a pro, 15 of 29, 282 yards and 4 touchdowns. DJ Moore, who they did pay a lot for, 8 catches, 230 yards, and 3 touchdowns. For Washington, Sam Howell, 37 of 51, 388 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception in the loss. Mark, we've been waiting for the Bears to show up, and they finally showed up on Thursday night.
Well, you have to take a look at everything that was going on. You had the bucket situation. You have the talk that your coach is going to be gone pretty quickly if something doesn't turn around. And the awakening of the Bears coincides with a weak team in the Washington Commanders. I know what the Washington Commanders are doing. I'm building on. They have a long way to go, even though they are, they've won 2 games, but they have lost 3. Justin Fields showed why he belongs where he belongs. 282 yards and 4 touchdowns. This isn't the Miami-Denver game where it was 70-0, and it easily could have been. But Justin Fields played smart football, even though he only completed about 50% of his passes, 4 touchdowns. And the good thing is he didn't lead the team in rushing as well. The team was evenly split out. Herbert got plenty of opportunities on the ground. DJ Moore showed why he was traded for. I'm not 100% sure because I don't have it in front of me, and I should. I believe he did set a record with his numbers that night, considering all 3 parts of it: receptions, yards, and touchdowns. I believe he passed Jerry Rice on that record individually, not obviously all time. That also being said, look at the Bears defense. I mean, the Washington offense isn't really awesome, but it isn't bad either. Sam Howell has done some good things. I mean, he did pass for almost 400 yards and didn't give up the ball much. The problem for me that lied with Washington was the fact is their run game is atrocious. Your leading rusher ended up being Sam Howell with 4 carries for a total of 19 yards. And then you got Brian Robinson who only got 6 for 10. Yes, you can make the case to say, the game was not in a position where we're going to be running anymore. But come on, if you're a 1 option team, then at least have some option to check off to a run, because you want to set up, shotgun with a running back right on the side of you the whole time, check down to a run every now and then, fine. But when you're passing 51 times, you're leaving no mystery to what you're going to do. And that was it. That being said, Chicago, went out to a commanding 27-3 lead. But Washington awoke and shut down the third quarter. You control that third quarter, you had a chance to control the fourth, but whatever. In this case, hats off to the 1-win Chicago Bears. This only leaves another team still at 0. Will they get their win today? We'll find out as we get in more into the week.
And ironically enough, that's the team the Bears made the trade for the number 1 overall pick. But the two things I'll bring up for the Bears. One, you brought up Fields running. I don't mind it when he runs. I really don't. But don't make more designed runs for him.
Look, we see running quarterbacks. We're all going to take note to Randall Cunningham and Michael Vick. Probably two best who have ever done it.
There'll never be another Vic.
Okay. The two best who have ever done it. They had permission to run anytime they wanted. They didn't even have to have a design play. I agree with Mike said you need a design play because then it will create more confusion instead of him waiting 2 seconds and just taking off.
And look, they have some of the weapons. DJ Moore had a great game. Cole Kmet, I think, is on maybe the lower half of the upper echelon of tight ends, maybe bottom half of the top 10. I know that's a weak position currently, but I'd put him in that conversation. The offensive line stinks in Chicago. The defense is meh. This is all about evaluating Justin Fields and what he is. And if Justin Fields plays like that, and he was good last week against Denver, too.
Yes, he was.
He's not the reason why they lost that game.
The thing that I'm sorry, Mike, I think I just cut you off, but
go ahead.
Justin Fields' rookie deal is very quickly coming to an end. Mm-hmm. And one thing I want to put out there is if Chicago, let's just say Chicago ends up tied with the Carolina Panthers with 1 win each. Chicago would win I believe because points wise, and have the number 1 and number 2 overall pick. Do you trade Justin Fields and just rebuild this team from the get-go?
I think you could get a team interested in Fields. I think you could get a lot of teams interested in the upside. I think you could get a lot of teams interested in the number 1 pick, too. So I think the ultimate question would be this, and it'd be 2 parts. Who's coming? Listen, if they decide to move on from Eberflus, which is still a possibility, who's coming in there, and what do they want to do? Do they want to work with Fields, or would they rather work with Caleb Williams if he's coming out in the draft?
Right.
That's the question. Because I don't even know if Justin Fields would be the top quarterback on the trade front. Because what's going to happen with Kyler Murray? We don't know what Arizona's going to do. Kirk Cousins is scheduled to be a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
I also need to see what teams are going to be in the quarterback market.
Well, one name I'm going to throw out there. I'm looking for New England to trade Mac Jones.
We'll definitely get into them.
Yeah,
because I do want to get into them in a second.
Oh, but, I apologize, but
no, that's fine. But New England, what is Baker the long-term answer in Tampa Bay? I don't know.
I mean, you can't say he hasn't had a much more of a resurgent season since he had. He looks pretty good. I'm not going to say he doesn't.
Do they want to pay him what they may have to? That's what happens with Stafford in LA.
Yep. This is going to be the biggest quarterback market in a long time. The problem is you got 2 names really on the outside that you mentioned. You got Stafford and Cousins, who are and I'm going to put extreme end of career veterans, pretty much what Ryan, Rivers, all went through. So it's going to be a question is what team are going to want to grab him for a year and maybe as a quick backup. Teams like possibly the Jets.
You know what? Go back to the question though. I just had a thought, and it's not a pretty thought. Tennessee doesn't win the division. They find themselves on the outside in. Ryan Tannehill's gone after the year.
I would think so.
What if you found a way for Justin Fields and Derrick Henry to be in the same backfield?
Ooh.
You'd have the explosiveness of Fields and the power and strength of Derrick Henry.
You got to get an offensive line that can open it up. I mean, they would need some major help on the offensive line, but that's an extreme possibility that we need to revisit towards the end of the season.
And the other part of it is Mike Vrabel's committed there.
Yeah.
They're not going to change the head coach. I don't think they'll change the coach because Vrabel's done an outstanding job. So, but I want to flip side this to the Commanders because I want to say three things on the Commanders, then we can move off. I think the Commanders have their guy in Sam Howell.
I don't disagree with you. I think that's who they're going to stick with.
And I say that because I know this game wasn't pretty. But go back 4 days prior. That last drive in Philly in regulation to tie that game, to send it to overtime. That's gutsy.
You have to give credit where credit is due there. You know, he drove down the field against the defending NFC champions.
On the road. In prime time in front of one of the most annoying, disgusting, horrible fan bases in football who are unrelentless against anybody, not just their own division. And he, like you said, he drove down. He has the ability to become a very good quarterback in the NFL. Their biggest problem is they were a one wide receiver team, and Philadelphia keyed on that, shutting down Terry McLaurin. And was shut down McLaurin last week. And it's helped for the resurgence of Curtis Samuel and Logan Thomas, which is going to help Sam Howell in the weeks to come. And the emergence of a guy like Jahan Dotson, and if they ran the ball with a Brian Robinson. But the two other parts I want to bring up. One, if Sam Howell is your guy, Washington, you got to protect him. He's on pace to get sacked almost 100 times this year. That's inexcusable.
And funny enough, there is a quarterback who could have more than him.
And the other part is this. Ron Rivera, I have a lot of respect for Ron Rivera.
Always have.
You can't sit there and tell me you played your rear ends off against the Philadelphia Eagles, and then 4 days later laid that egg. So bad that your new owner, or one of your new owners, and Magic Johnson, tweeted, there was no fire, there was no intensity. What are we doing, Ron?
Right.
And listen, I like Ron Rivera. I'm not saying he's out right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the year he's looking for another job.
I think the two coaches who are on the hot seats are Eberflus and Rivera right now. And I have, just like Mike, I've come to like Ron Rivera. I think he's a very competent coach. I just don't think he's ever been given what he needs to do it in Washington. And I think there will be another team that is going to benefit from his expertise.
And even if he's not a head coach, he could be a defensive coordinator. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's the other part. So Chicago wins, they get their first. Washington moves to 2-3. Okay. Mark brought up Mac Jones, and this brings us into what occurred last week. I call it demolition in Dallas. The Cowboys ramrodded the New England Patriots 38-3, giving Bill Belichick the worst loss in his entire career. Mark, we could start this we'll break this off into two parts. The first part will be the Mac Jones part, because we had this conversation this week on the Wishbone Shotgun podcast. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. I'm over Mac Jones, but I also want to give Mac Jones a little bit of an out. Because here's my thing. Look at the rest of the AFC East. We didn't know what Josh Allen was until the Bills got him Stephon Diggs. We didn't know what Tua was until the Dolphins got him Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Even the Jets, despite at times how putrid Zach Wilson has been, they were able to draft him a guy like Garrett Wilson. Who the hell is Mac Jones throwing the ball to?
Hunter Henry last week was really the only one who got receptions. Here's the thing. Bill Belichick will go down, and this is no offense to Packers and Bears fans. Bill Belichick will go down as the greatest coach to ever have coached in the NFL. Yes, I'm saying over Lombardi. I'm saying over Hank Stram, over Parcells, obviously. To see Bill Belichick so defeated gave me two reactions. One, a very big-ass smile on my face because it was my Cowboys tuning him up. But two, it was showing the defeat of a long career, and we've seen what happens when you take such a huge loss at the end of a career. You start to question, is this it? Am I done? All the things are going to come up for Bill Belichick. As for Mac Jones, yes, when he came on the scene in his rookie year, he took the Patriots to some levels they haven't really been at since Tom Brady. And he showed something. But there was a difference then. The team was built for Tom Brady, so he had that protection on the offensive line to give him time. Right now, the little green army men in Toy Story could get to him and sack him before the line moves. And mind you, they're not allowed to move when people look at them. Mac Jones, has Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott. Again, Ezekiel Elliott, a lot of love in my heart for the guy. His career, I said last year, is only a short yardage career now. And even last week against Dallas, we saw why he was declining. He had a couple of runs of 8 and 9. But Ramondre Stevenson isn't the answer either. The only offensive weapon on the New England Patriots is Mac Jones. So here comes the question for Patriot fans. You're 1-3 right now. You're going to play this week. Is it time to say, hey, look, we got the trade deadline coming up. We gave away Bailey Zappi, which to me made no sense.
They did bring him back.
Oh, okay. So let's recant that. I'm sorry. I did not know he was brought back.
Yeah,
so you now have Bailey Zappi, who knows the book. If Mac Jones today does not put up a 5-time effort better than he did against Dallas, especially the way when he went off the field and he told he was being benched and he's high-fiving guys and smiling, bull effing crap, you're doing that. If by the first, I'm going to even be more courageous. If by the first half, New England's not winning, he is benched today, and he's going to be just like another pool of clay. He's going to be chasing a new team as well. He's going to be done.
And look, here's the thing. New England wants to play offense like it's 20 years ago. They want to run the ball down your throats, and they want to play good defense. The problem is in today's NFL, it doesn't work. You need somebody to split. You need someone to go down the field. That's how every good team has been built. We can go down the field, and then we can run the ball. Perfect example is the team who's reigned supreme in the AFC, Buffalo. They can run the ball, but they're built to go down the field, whether it's Diggs, Davis, the tight ends, with Josh Allen's arm. Mac Jones doesn't have that arm. Mac Jones also has never had those weapons. And I don't feel bad for Mac Jones. I can't, as a Dolphin fan, feel bad for the Patriots because of how well they've had it for so many years. But at the end of the day, you have to figure out, one, is Mac the guy? And if Mac is the guy, why didn't you sign DeAndre Hopkins this offseason? Why have you never brought in a number one receiver to say, okay, let's see if Mac is truly the guy? Because if he's not the guy, then we have to change things. And listen, I respect Bill Belichick. I agree with you. He's the greatest coach of all time. I think we're at a point where it might be time to move on. If I'm the New England Patriots, if I'm Bill Belichick, I get it. You may want to keep him there so you can set the all-time wins record as a Patriots coach. I don't know if that matters. This team's not good enough.
Right. Go ahead.
They have talent defensively, but the way they drafted over the years and they've spent money. I mean, they gave Juju 3 years, $30 million or whatever it was, 30. Juju's not a number one receiver.
No.
Kendrick Bourne is not a number one receiver.
Yeah, he hasn't been relevant since he was a Steeler anyway.
Right. So your best weapon offensively is Hunter Henry. That is your best offensive weapon. Let me repeat myself. Your best offensive weapon is Hunter Henry. You know,
enough said.
I mean, I get it. Kansas City's best weapon is their tight end too, but Travis Kelce's a future Hall of Famer.
Yes. The atrocity that's happening in New England is we're gonna end it pretty much on this. They might be the Patriots in Massachusetts who were named after, the Patriots of the Revolution. You got your ass stomped by horse-riding, gun-toting cowboys who are the true America's team.
You might as well find Paul Revere to play receiver, for Pete's sake.
At least I don't know. He might just run away saying, oh, shit, the defense is coming. The defense is coming.
Yeah, but that'll alert Mac to get rid of the ball. Just don't throw it to the other team. I don't know. Listen, I get it. But the longer this goes and the longer New England is, I don't want to say they're not a threat because they're a Bill Belichick coach team, but the longer they do this, the more Bill Belichick's legacy does take a little bit of a hit.
Yeah. Look, I understand going after the record. I mean, come on. It's like a record that's really never going to be broached or come close to again, just like Cy Young's win record in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I understand how close he is. But with getting the all-time win record, but going in as a declined coach at the end, I don't know if I want to be remembered, all I did was eked out another 5 years to get mediocrity just so I would get the record. That I don't agree.
Yeah. All right. So Bill Belichick's biggest rival of the 2000s, the Indianapolis Colts, are in the news. Jonathan Taylor is back, and he's got a
not tool time Jonathan Taylor.
Hmm?
Not tool time Jonathan Taylor.
No, that's Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
I know.
But shout out Home Improvement.
Not a sponsor.
Not a well, I mean, it was a
Wow.
television show. So
TV station, not a sponsor. Sorry, I just broke
Jonathan
my.
Taylor is back for the Colts, and he got a new contract, 3 years, $42 million. Okay, Mark, two-part question, because we saw the running back market and what happened this offseason with it. Does this help the running back market, or does this say, okay, Jonathan Taylor was a little bit more loyal to the Colts than we thought he would have been?
Okay, so obviously, they claim it on a hamstring issue is what he technically missed, even though we all know it was a holdout. Call it whatever you want. That's why he was not playing. He just saw one of the richest contracts for a running back in the last few years. We've seen what happens when big money is given to running backs, and I'm going to put it out there right now. Ezekiel Elliott's contract, seemed right number-wise because of what he was, but after the decline, it should have been just released. Jonathan Taylor is I don't like to say an exception to the rule here. The guy's been in the league a couple of years, and just look what he's done by his second year. Now you're going to put him on a team with Anthony Richardson, this young, not put him on a team. He was on the team. You're now going to thrust him back, his numbers back into this offense. Indianapolis is going to become a more relevant team if they want to. Mind you, this is a team that needs help at a lot of positions to be great, and draft picks are going to help. I do not expect them to be very active in the trade line because of the signing of Taylor. I think they will go out and play to the absolute top tier, but I will not be surprised if this team ends up with a top 7 pick by the end.
So they wound up with a pick in the top 5, which they won't. Marvin Harrison Jr. or Brock Bowers would look very pretty in a Colts uniform.
It would be just too fitting for his son to go there.
Yeah, so you're right with Taylor and Richardson. That'll be a really good duo in the backfield.
It's like Prescott, Elliott in 16. So that's where I'm going to put it.
And let me tell you, Anthony Richardson, he's got an arm.
Much better than he showed off in the pre-draft and in the combine.
Yeah.
Much stronger than he even showed there. Unbelievable.
They just need to get some weapons on the outside. Work a little bit on that defense. I'm in on the Colts, but listen, for Jonathan Taylor, this is a win. If he wanted to be in Indianapolis, this is a win. My one big issue, if Taylor wanted to be there and the Colts wanted to get it done, what took so long?
It was the money. It's what football has come down to. And I'm sad to say it. It was the money. Mind you, they said the deal ended up being reworked at the end to make him happy. 27.5 of it is guaranteed. That's better than 58% of the contract is guaranteed. So say what you want. It doesn't mean they can't release him. They just have to pay him at least 27.5.
Well, I don't think they're going to release him now. That you just
I don't think they would ever. But if they, let's say in 2 years, he hasn't made it, they will have that option.
Well, they'll find someone to trade for. I presume. I mean, now the running back market looks a little bit more interesting, nearing the deadline and even into the offseason. Saquon Barkley, what happens there?
Kansas City.
Oh my God!
Even though Pacheco's there.
Oh my God! That was just like that was uncalled for.
Sorry,
Kansas City.
Sorry, it's the only place I see him going. Yet there are many teams that he would absolutely fit the scheme. I see him wanting to go to Kansas City because poor Saquon, I know we're not near the Giants right now, but poor Saquon, again, with that ankle, his time in the NFL is going to end up like Zeke Elliott's and others with injuries and stuff like that. His time to win a ring is going to go away fast. He wants a ring. He's going to have to go to a top echelon team. And I don't see anybody else but KC going to do it. I think Patrick Mahomes will waive his entire year's contract to sign him.
You got me thinking now because of teams and specifics. With the trade deadline coming out, I think it's on Halloween this year.
It is.
What about a team like Baltimore? With J.K. Dobbins out, and you have a Justice Hill and a Gus Edwards they're good. But now I got an offense that'll feature Lamar, Saquon, Mark Andrews, and Odell Beckham.
That's going to be. You want to think a trade with the Giants? The only way that happens is Odell Beckham Jr. comes back to New York. There's your trade piece.
I think if you're the Giants, I'd want the picks.
I think if I'm the Giants, I want someone to be able to catch the ball. And I'm even sure Bill is at church today saying, God, let him complete one pass.
No, you see, here's what Giants fans might say today when they're watching the team they're playing against. Oh, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, guys like that. Didn't know those kinds of guys existed for my team.
Well, and then you have, considering I don't pronounce his name right, you have Don Amici, the famous movie star in the backfield who has taken this league by storm.
What did you just call him?
Well, there was a famous actor by the name of Don Amici. I don't know this kid's name very well, so I just called him that. It makes it easy. At least I knew. See, you're laughing because you also know who I'm talking about. That's what makes it better. The Dolphins' offense is probably the most electric offense in the NFL this year. I don't see another offense that is up to their caliber. They have resurged the running game with Don Amici and Rasheem Mostert. Don't worry, your name will be corrected when we get to Mike and Rasheem Mostert. You got concussion list Tua making passes like a veteran John Elway and Troy Aikman. And the line is giving him ample time. The Dolphins are 4-0 for a reason. Dallas stomped the little Giants. The Dolphins are going to push them into the Mariana Trench.
A couple of things. Dolphins 3-1 after last week's loss in Buffalo, but it's Devon Achane.
I know. I couldn't think of his name, so I went with Don Amici. It works.
That is like my father watching television. And when he sees a character or an actor who plays their major role and they're in another show, that's the person from that show. That's what you just pulled.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Also, a little bit of an update here from London because we have a London game today. The Jaguars are up 11-0 on the Buffalo Bills right now.
11-0.
So after their first touchdown to Zay Jones, Doug Peterson went for 2. He got it.
Look, I understand playing, trying to bring in a new audience for the NFL as we see it being done with baseball. So it's nothing new in the sports world. Basketball is also going that way. Can we just pick another field besides Wembley Stadium? It is the most prestigious field in London. I'm not taking that away. It's the texture and nature of that field that is not NFL right. You can
I
see the
believe
divots.
I believe today's game might not be at Wembley. It might be at Tottenham.
Well, either way, that field isn't even NFL ready either. So when we see teams like Buffalo that we're expecting to light up like they did last week, field conditions go a lot
Yeah,
into this game.
Tottenham.
Yeah, if it's at Tottenham yet again, this is no diss. It is an amazing soccer field, football field in London talk. To make it easy, it is an amazing field. And even as the great Ted Lasso stepped on Wembley and has coached on Wembley, even he said, how the hell can guys ever expect to play football on this? I know he was talking about soccer, but yet in reality, he's talking about the NFL.
Yeah, I think we have another one game coming up, and then the NFL beat Germany. So get ready. NFL is coming, people. All right. On to some of the games we're looking forward to today. And I think one of the more interesting ones, and I like it because both teams are kind of a surprise. You have the 2-2 Texans. You have the 2-2 Atlanta Falcons.
Well,
But Mark, I think the one difference between the two teams, one has their franchise quarterback, and the other one, we're not sure. Because CJ Stroud has been absolutely amazing so far for the Houston Texans. And Desmond Ridder has been, well, he's been like the Riddler. We just don't know what he's going to do next.
So, on your point on CJ Stroud, 94 of 151, 1,212 yards and 6 touchdowns.
And how many picks?
I'm sorry, I'll let you say it.
Goose egg on the picks. So CJ Stroud, if you throw a pick today, that's on us. We apologize deeply, but I'm letting you know this. I did take you with the points today, Houston. Don't let me down.
You know, looking at CJ Stroud, and he's lived up to everything he's had to do. From coming out of college to coming into a team that had so many off-field issues and so much internal issues, to come in and basically ignore it all and come in to play your game as a rookie and a kid his age, and to take it on his hands and to create a great receiver in Nico Collins. And the one issue, if I have an issue regarding the Texans, is they did not provide a third piece for Stroud. Look, I understand, you can't be perfect in every aspect of the game, but you could have gotten somebody better than Dameon Pierce and Devin Singletary. Not to take anything away from them. They're in the NFL. They're there for a reason. They can play the game. But with the names that were available, can you imagine if you gave, again, no offense to Dameon Pierce and Devin Singletary, but let's just give one more tier above the both of them. And let's just give one more tier above and put a more capable running back in. Houston's 3-1. There is, besides diehard Houston fans, there would have been nobody outside the NFL who would have taken them in a suicide pool, or to count them in the first 5 weeks to be better than 500.
And I think that's a credit to D'Amico Ryan and the job
Absolutely
he's done as well. I mean, that defense really well. Offensively with Stroud, Tank Dell, who they drafted out of Houston, has been really good. I'd like to see them use Dalton Schultz a little bit more. I think that's the one guy you'd like to see. There's just There's something about this team. They didn't have expectations coming into the year. And they're 2-2, and you look at how they played. They beat the Jags in Jacksonville. And then even when they compete, it's kind of like, okay, we see you, Houston. You're coming quicker than I think anybody had thought you'd come. So I really like what they're building there. And they have more picks coming.
And that's something that we'll touch on at the end of the season, as it becomes more relevant and as we see who is going to be towards the top. But let's just flip it over to the Atlanta Falcons quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Desmond Ridder, last year, this year, he's only had 2 years. Drake London's in his second year, and he's starting to, come around a lot more. But right now, your leading receiver is Jonnu Smith with 15 receptions, and that's a problem, and that's something that is going to take time. But you have capable receivers. It's that offensive line that is giving Ridder not enough time to do anything, but is also hampering the production and the absolute usefulness of their rookie Bijan Robinson, who has yet really, yes, he had a 125-yard game, but he hasn't been in the end zone yet. And that says a lot for somebody who's supposed to be the focus of your offense.
I'm going to go a different route.
Okay.
Kyle Pitts. I need you to walk into Arthur Smith's office. I need you to tell him, look, either use me or trade me. This is year 3. Kyle Pitts has done absolutely nothing. There are plenty of teams that would take him just for the upside of Kyle Pitts alone. You brought up London. Okay, London gets the targets. They want to run the ball with Bijan. When Jonnu Smith out targets Kyle Pitts is where I draw the line.
Right. When Kyle Pitts was drafted, his quarterback was Matt Ryan. And we saw what Matt Ryan was able to do with a player like Tony Gonzalez when he came over from Kansas City. Kyle Pitts was accurately compared to Tony Gonzalez, but was also considered more of a wide receiver tight end because of his size and his leanness. He's never been really utilized. And I agree that either it's time to go in and we're hearing player upon player upon player going into teams that are underperforming and asking for trades now. The problem I have is that what the heck is Atlanta even going to get for him? A washing machine or maybe a water boy might be available.
I think you can get, based on the upside of him alone, I think you can get a second-round pick.
I think you're overreaching. But no offense, it's a rarity for anybody who's about to see what's about to happen that Mike and I actually will fight about something. You're not going to see Pitts get a second. His usefulness is going to show. My point was maybe at the best he'll get a fifth.
My point was maybe a third that could turn into a second, depending on stats and what he means to a team.
Fifth to a fourth if you're going to talk like that.
Listen, I'll say this. There are plenty of teams who would take Kyle Pitts. One of them's playing against you. We brought up a team before, Indianapolis.
Look, I'll go out and say it right now. I like Jake Ferguson. Let's bring him to Dallas. I have no problem with that. We can trade Shoemaker and Hendershot. Not a problem.
Hey, the Giants will trade for him and then just never target him.
No, the Giants will trade for him and let him just call the plays. I'm sorry. Did that hurt Giants fans? You all suck. Your win came against the Arizona freaking Cardinals. Yes, Dallas lost. Dallas lost to the Cardinals. All who gives a shit?
Wait a
Dallas
sec.
wasn't going to win all 17 games anyway. The Giants.
I'm moving off of this.
Thank you, please, before I get going. Thank you.
Well, speaking of people calling other people out, we have a good one at 4:00 today because we got the Broncos and the Jets. And for the first time since Sean Payton said Nathaniel Hackett did the worst
right?
job ever. And yet Denver still stands at 1-3. And easily could be 0-4 too, had the Bears not gifted them that game last week.
You got Zach Wilson versus Russell Wilson. Can we have the real Wilson please stand up?
Back to home improvement. That's the real Wilson.
Pretty much. They're all hidden there. We don't know who the true one is. I mean, Russell Wilson, to his credit, does have 9 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Zach Wilson has hit on more women than he has touchdowns on the season. So, it's very hard for the Jets to be taken seriously. But if you watch the performance they did against the Kansas City Chiefs last week, which I did, I saw a spark there that this is a key week for Zach Wilson, Breece Hall, and Garrett Wilson to go off. I expect Breece Hall to have a game like he did against Denver last year, just minus the ACL tear. I expect Garrett Wilson to have 9 receptions today, and I expect Zach Wilson to be almost perfect.
And I expect that Jet defense to take some liberties at Russell Wilson as well.
I believe they will.
Yeah, I think the Jets. I don't know how close this is, but I think the Jets win, and I don't think this is going to be. I want to say it's not going to be close, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets won this game by 10-14.
And a big shout out to Danny Boy Reginolds, who's hanging out with Mama and Papa Ryans. We all love you. I'm sure he is sitting and watching and smiling, knowing that we are pulling for the Jets. And it's not just because of him. As football fans, we see what's happening in Denver.
We also, some of us may or may not have taken the Jets with the points.
Well, that's on you. I'm not stupid enough.
Well, listen. I may be stupid. And I am definitely stupid.
No.
But Denver should never be favored in a football game at the current moment.
No. So, this game should be basically pick 'em. No point spread.
Yeah, so we like the Jets. Update in London, the Bills have scored a touchdown, Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs. We have a 7-11 game in London. It's 11-7, Jack.
And who says we're not trying to bring American culture to London? We're bringing our quickie stops. However, sit back a second, Mike. I just want to point something out. If you watch the opening to the London game like I did, I feel that America is really kicking London in the gonads by making the home fans of London hear the national anthem by Francis Scott Key, which is basically a song that's written about America kicking London's ass. The atrocity of us. However, that just came to me this morning, so I figured it needed a spot on this podcast.
That's flexing your muscles, you're Roger Goodell.
The only thing I ever liked that Roger Goodell has done when bringing a game that he has nothing to do with.
All right.
Moving right along.
All right. We also have the best rivalry in football right now going for their first installment today. We got the Ravens. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Always a competitive game.
And always highly spirited. you have two of the best modern day coaches, John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin, and you have a lot of lightning rods in this game. T.J. Watt, Lamar, to a degree, Kenny Pickett, if you see on Twitter or X marks the spot. But I gotta tell you, Mark, I'm not sure what the Pittsburgh Steelers are at the moment after getting basted by the Texans.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are nothing what they were made out to be. Even look, Kenny Pickett may be a good quarterback, but we're not going to see it while he's right now with a team that's stinking so bad. I mean, I am boldly going to say this could be Mike Tomlinson's first losing season ever. And that's kind of a shame because that's a record I kind of love. I love that he owns that. I love that he accomplished that. That being said, this game is not even a contest. What is Baltimore going to do? Baltimore is going to run the ball a lot with Lamar Jackson. They're going to use Flowers is going to have a big day. Andrews is going to have a big day. Odell Beckham is in and will be playing. We do not know how much he'll actually play. We don't know the real status of that ankle. But let's say if he plays 40% of the snaps, he'll have 1 to 2 receptions or be more of a decoy on the field to open up the passing lanes and or running lanes. I expect this to be one of the biggest blowouts of the day.
And they're going to get Marlon Humphrey back on defense.
Yes.
Which is a massive get back for the Ravens. And
side note, sorry, Pat Fryermuth will miss today's game with them bringing up, sorry, I have his name right here, bringing up Darnell Washington, third round pick to start today's game. In
Darnell Washington is a rookie out of Georgia. So, and Kenny Pickett's going to play with he had a knee issue, but it looks like he's going to go.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett is going to start. A lot of look is on Zay Flowers today, as a lot of people believe this is going to be his breakout day.
And I'll say this, the Steeler offensive line, you got to protect Kenny Pickett, but you also, if you're Pittsburgh, you have to establish the run. Yeah. You have to establish it. That's the one thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers I've known my entire life. The Steelers want to establish the run, whether it was Jerome Bettis, Willie Parker, Najee Harris. You have to establish it because they're not as good as they've ever been on the outside. George Pickens is a freak, and he's got a lot of upside. But outside of that, I don't love their receivers.
Yeah, Pickens on the year, 16 receptions, 263 and a touchdown. But Mike made a very big key, and that's on the running game. Again, something for Pittsburgh that's always been something going back even as far back as the 70s, Franco Harris.
Yeah.
You know, they were smash mouth football.
Well, some of us try not to age ourselves on this program.
Well, I'm already there, so, you know, it's not like I have to go far. Najee Harris, you know, has 49 carries for 210 yards. That's less than 5 yards a carry. And the offensive line for Pittsburgh has more penalties than Najee Harris has first downs. So their average starting point is 2nd and 12, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 12. And that doesn't help an offense at all.
Yeah, especially one that doesn't have the talent on the outside. One that, listen, you say what you want about Kenny Pickett. You can't tell me if Kenny Pickett's the guy or not, because nobody knows if Kenny Pickett's the guy or not. But I'll say this, he's had moments. We're looking for him to get to that consistency and finding it. Because there were times a couple of weeks ago, he was really good against the Raiders. And then he made some throws that go, that's not really good. So you have to build the picket fence around Pickett so he gets the time to decide. And also, you got to get some talent on the outside. outside of Pickens. I know Deontay Johnson's hurt. You mentioned Fryermuth's out today. But outside of that, and establish Najee Harris is so important. Or
And
Jalen
that's
Warren.
and
But I
that's
like both.
something that is
Go
very
ahead.
important today because of how the Baltimore Ravens defense is built. If Pittsburgh can establish a run, the secondary is soft. I mean, they're not horrible. They're not ranked at the bottom, but they're not ranked at the top either. If you can establish a run and let Kenny Pickett get time to do a play action here and there, or even start from the shotgun, I do think Pittsburgh has a chance to cover. I don't think they have a chance to win.
Yeah, especially when Mike Tomlin said they weren't physical enough last week.
Right. And when your coach is saying that about your team, it's a concern.
Yeah, this is the week that you want to go because you get out physical by the Ravens. It's a long week in Pittsburgh. So we got Ravens, Steelers, we talk Texans, Falcons. We also have a big one in the NFC before we get to the Sunday night game. But Mark's other favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to LA to play the Rams, who, listen, give the Rams credit for what they've done the first 4 weeks, and they're getting Cooper Kupp back today.
Give the Rams the credit, but let's give all the credit to one guy, Nakua. I love this kid. Didn't know much about him until the beginning of the year, of course, but I have come to love this kid. He reminds me of Cooper Kupp 2 years ago with his ability to, his route running is spectacular. His ability to get open and create new lanes, and his ability to find soft spots in the defense, especially in the corners of the end zone. On that one catch he has 39 receptions for 500 yards this season. Stafford is just not Stafford, though, anymore. 1,230 yards, 3 TDs, and 5 interceptions. The good news is that running back Harry Williams, is starting to get a good feel where he was last year. 245 yards, but 5 touchdowns. It's something that the Rams have missed over the years. Really, I mean, I don't really call much, and I know this is going to be a diss to a lot of Rams players, and I apologize, but I don't see a Rams running back as good as Marshall Faulk since. To me, Williams has become that one. And yes, as I said, this is my opinion. This is what the Rams have to do today. They have to not turn over the ball. They have to control the clock. I'm not saying they have to put up 100 points against Philadelphia. No one has to, but you have to own the clock or Philadelphia is going to own you. I'm sorry. As the Dallas fan, as a football fan and a football analyst, that's how I see it.
The Rams a couple of weeks ago against the Bengals on that Monday night, that offensive line was not good. Now what they got coming in is a buzzsaw of a defensive line that will not have Fletcher Cox. He's going to miss his first game in 6 years, which is unreal. But they're going to need to protect Matthew Stafford. And listen, they're going to get Cooper Kupp the ball. They're going to get Nakua the ball. They're going to get Tyler Higbee the ball. Long, sustainable drives offensively, and then defensively for the Rams. Just stay in the lane. Don't let Jalen Hurts' legs beat you. Listen, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, they're going to get theirs. You know they are. It's limiting the big play. That's what hurt Washington last week. They couldn't limit the big play. You do that, you got a shot.
Especially with Devonta Smith. Now, we know that A.J. Brown is the higher targeted player here, and rightfully so. I mean, he's an outstanding wide receiver with 29 receptions for 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. But I don't want to key on the receivers or even the running back. I want to look at Jalen Hurts here. And yes, He was the NFC quarterback last year. But he's got 959 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Something about this offense is wrong. Mind you, it doesn't show in their record at all.
No.
It does not show in their record. The defense is good. Is it San Francisco, Dallas good? No, but it's good. It's a good, solid defense. They are giving up more and more room, more yards. But Jalen Hurts, 5 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. When you have receivers like A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, Quez Watkins, what is going on? They're winning games because their defense is creating options. But what is the problem? What am I missing, Mike?
I think you're missing. I don't think you're missing anything. I think the two things they're missing. Remember, it's new coordinators, so that's part of this. I think the other part is as good as Goddard is, and he's just not what Zach Ertz meant to them. He's just a little bit more athletic and younger. But Zach Ertz was a guy who sat down, found the soft spot in the zone. You can rely on Zach Ertz a bit. The other thing is they're good enough to run the ball. They run the ball enough to the point where that's what they're built. Their bread and butter isn't throwing the ball down the field. Their bread and butter is our offensive line is going to outgrind you, and we're going to average 5-6 yards a carry.
Which is happening right now.
It's happening. And we're going to get to a spot where 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, we're going to have 4 guys in the backfield just push our quarterback for the extra yard.
So obviously that's where I was going to go with before we moved on to the next spot. So last week we saw that as a very effective way of getting a yard or a goal line into the end zone. The NFL is going to be reviewing the Eagles, and now it's actually quoted, the tush push. This is how sad we've come as the NFL that we can't call it the butt fumble or the butt push. It has to be the tush because butt is a problem. It is going.
Here's the issue. Every team is trying to copy it because it works so well in Philly.
I have a problem
people can perfect it.
Tush. That's my problem.
No.
It's the NFL. This is not powder puff football.
My problem is this. Monday night, the Giants try to run this play. 1, Daniel Jones couldn't get the damn yard. But 2, and this is more important, they got 2 guys injured on that
play. Which proves
this doesn't deserve to be reviewed by the league. The Giants should be reviewed for being failures at it.
You know,
that's what Brian Dable was flipping a tablet for on Monday night.
Yes, mind you, Microsoft is no longer a fan of Brian Dable or Tom Brady for that reason.
Not a sponsor, Bill Gates.
Just, I hate the word that is being called tush push, but I like butt fumble better. But, that's not what we're calling it.
I didn't have my hands on his butt. I had it on his tush. Come on.
This is going to be a reviewed play thing at the end of the season and probably will be actually heavily discussed as having to do with the jumping over the line field goal blocking style was banned. And this is going to be reviewed and questioned, but this is nothing new. This has been done since football has started. And I understand that if you got a lean quarterback and you get 350-pound guys pushing you, it's like 2 dump trucks pushing a Lego figure forward. You're not stopping it. You're going to get the room you need.
So we're going to get rid of the quarterback sneak at the 1-yard line, too?
Look, the Chicago Bears did it with William Perry.
So, listen, I'm all for the fat guy touchdowns. I'm all for bring them back.
And then you get a fat guy dance and a fat guy spike. It all works. No offense to fat guys.
Always gets the girl.
No offense to the fat guys who are watching this. We all love you.
Fat guy pride.
But in all seriousness, if this is brought up really for seriousness during the league because the Eagles have found a way to turn 1 yard into a touchdown effectively, then what are we doing here? I understood the jumping over the line and all that, fine. But cutting every rule, everything to a rule, you can't.
Yeah,
so actually, if you're looking at it, a Dallas fan just sided with the Eagles organization. Now I'm going to go hang myself.
just find the Giants for being incompetent and running that play. That's all we need. All right. So Eagles, Rams. We also got the Chiefs and the Vikings today. That should be a fun one in Minnesota.
Yeah, Chiefs will be 4-1. Vikings will be 1-4.
Listen, if Brian Flores could dial up whatever the Jets did last week, they got a shot.
Fair enough statement. I mean, the collapse. I mean, well, the Jets defense is very good. Let's put it out there. The Jets defense is just that good.
Yes,
Top 5 in the league.
Good.
Top 5 in the league. I don't care if you're number 1 in the league. It's not easy to stop KC or even put a hurt on them. And the Jets found a way.
I don't disagree with that.
And the Jets found a way. Now it's a question is, can teams pick up on what the Jets did? That's what it is. So now you have the Jets as the example. Can Minnesota pull it off? I'm not going to say no. Anything is possible. The player who's going to be the big difference in this game is going to be Cam Akers from Minnesota. He is going to give Kirk Cousins the time that Alexander Mattison has not been able to get him to do. I think Cam Akers is going to free up more 2nd and 6s, more 2nd and 5s, and that's going to help Kirk Cousins find players like well, you don't have to say he has to find Justin Jefferson. He's been finding him all year. So, but players like Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson are going to go very big today if Cam Akers can shorten up those second downs.
By the way, Kansas City, before you leave Minnesota, just grab Justin Jefferson and put him on your team playing.
God help us.
That's the thing for me about Kansas City. Look, Pacheco's really good. Kelsey, we talked about how elite he is. Can someone on the outside step up? Whether it's Rashid Rice, Sky Moore, MVS.
The one who should be is the one you just named, as he's the veteran of the group there. Yeah. Not that he deserves the tag, but in all purposes, he should be your number 1 receiver. And why he's not being targeted 8 to 10 receptions a game, I don't understand. I understand the usefulness of Kelsey. Every team would love to have a Travis Kelsey, a Tony Gonzalez, a Jason Witten. It's not in the cards. You have to develop your own. But Mike's right. Kansas City can't be the Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey. That it has to have another definition.
And because when you get to December and January, the teams that take away Travis Kelsey, you're going to need someone else to step up. That's the reason why we say. That's why now, come the deadline, I don't know who the guy is that's going to be out there at receiver, but you better be on the phone, Brett Veach. You better be on the phone. And this is not a knock on those other guys. They just haven't stepped up.
Not that they haven't been doing KC things, these receivers. They've been, sporadically getting targets and receptions. There is no true number. I'm putting Travis Kelsey out of this because I don't ever consider a tight end your number 1 receiver, and never should he be. But there is no number 1 valid receiver on that team. There is no one capable of being it. There's players who should be mentioned as it, as I've already said, but there's no one on that team who is capable of being a number 1.
Yeah.
And again, no offense to Travis Kelsey and his new love interest, Taylor Swift.
Just don't show her 38 times on the broadcast. That's all I'm asking.
41. Last week was 41. It was we actually had a pool on it. Not us.
It's all right. It's all right. Swifties, you can come at me. I don't care.
I'll just be happy enough if she understands the game.
She's writing a song right now. All right.
On to Sunday night. My mom's. Sorry.
On to Sunday night where Mark's 49ers are on TV.
Sorry, FTC. Sorry, Patch.
We got Cowboys and Niners. Here's the biggest thing. Chris Collinsworth's going to tell you about. Here's a guy who just does random stuff.
I'm muting the game personally.
But
I don't want to listen to him.
The Niners get better this week. How did the Niners get better? Well, they added one of Mark's old friends. Randy Gregory comes over from the Denver Broncos.
After 10 games in Denver, San Francisco has the love of taking players or giving away players who've only played less than 12 games in the league, as they traded Trey Lance after 4.
I mean, this defense is freaking loaded.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Sunday night. It's the NFC Championship. It's already here. Every other NFC
it's
team
already here.
There is no other NFC team besides the 49ers and the Cowboys that are worth mentioning. Here it goes. And I'm going to be... Sorry.
I'm going to stop you right now.
Uh-oh.
So I want to go back to a conversation we had before.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So this is from Diana Rossini on a front office source on the tush push play.
Oh, okay.
So a front office source on the tush push to Diana Rossini just now, and I quote, "What people fail to realize about the tush push play is that teams aren't required to use it. There is an injury risk to the quarterback on all quarterback sneak plays, and certainly the interior line. No injuries last year, but 2 Giants injured a week ago. Some teams sneak, some teams don't," close quote.
What a friggin' answer. I love it.
Yeah, that's good.
That pretty much states that nothing is going to be changed. There is no way you are going to get a majority vote from the NFL owners that this needs to be banned. Mm-hmm. Not after that answer.
Yeah, that's a really good.
Use it. You want to suck at it and lose 2 of your linemen? Be the Giants.
All right. Back to Cowboys Niners. Sorry, I just wanted to read that.
No, that's absolutely all right. Forever in the NFL, you have legendary matchups, and I'm not going to go out and quote them all. We're going to just go to one of them, and that's tonight. The Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers will be facing off in California on Sunday Night Football. You got the 3-1 Cowboys versus the 4-0 49ers. You got the number 1 and number 2 defenses in football. To be 100% honest, they should be tied at number 1, considering that the reason between the separation is 47 yards given up. There should be a tie for number 1. You got the best defenses in football. You got probably one of the youngest, most electric quarterbacks in football in Brock Purdy. You got Dak Prescott, who is finally off to a start to a good season with only 1 interception on the year. You got a Dallas running game, finally, that is not contained to a 2-yard run on first down with Tony Pollard or Deuce Vaughn, and as Rico Dowdle will not be playing tonight. You have the San Francisco wide receivers of Debo, I can do it all, whether it's running back or play wide receiver, Samuel. You have Brandon Ayuk, who is off to one of the best starts to a number 2 wide receiver that I've seen in a long time. And then, of course, you got George Kittle. Oh, yeah. Well, let's not forget, you got the biggest fantasy player in all of football in Christian McCaffrey. There you know, this game is filled with enough stars on whether it's the Dallas defense and Micah Parsons and Dexter, Jesus God, and Tank Lawrence. You got Vander Esch. You got the no-fly zone. You got football tonight. And this isn't going to be a friendly matchup. This is going to be a hard, dirty hitting game. It is not going to be a run over game 57-56. As Dallas fan, and I'm going to be biased, it's going to come down to two parts of the game. But before I get to Dallas on itself, two parts of the game for both teams. It's going to be the offensive lines. The offensive lines is going to determine who win this game. The Dallas Cowboys have announced as of this morning, they will have all 5 regular starters back from injury. The San Francisco 49ers were nice enough to mention they never had an injured lineman, so they're all going to play. This is going to be where the game is won, is which quarterback has gotten to the most. So you're going to have to look at the matchups, who's on Micah Parsons and who's on Fred Warner. I'm going to bring it down to that. The receiving game, the running game is going to define itself. The way the game is won is in the trenches here today.
I look at something a little bit differently. I agree with you on the trenches part. I'm looking at the Cowboy defense for a second. This is the first major test for the Cowboy defense without Trevon Diggs.
Agreed.
So if you're going to put Stephon Gilmore out on Debo, which I would presume would be the plan, can Deron Bland cover IU? Remember the key play last year in the playoff game? That was that big George Kittle catch. And we're still waiting for George Kittle to have a George Kittle game. So that's a big factor. So I wonder how Dan Quinn is going to utilize some of his other parts.
So as Mike just pointed out, Deron Bland is anything but bland. However,
he's the man who's bland with a plan.
Yeah, I mean, if last week's game shows you anything that he can play, yeah, it was against a weak Patriots offense. However, he made great plays in that game, and he has stepped up since Diggs has gone down. That being said, Mike is right. Stephon Gilmore will primarily be on Deebo Samuel. I don't really see much other difference. I think Deron Bland has a very tough task in containing Ayuk. However, I will probably be willing to hedge my bet that Jordan Lewis will also be in on a lot of downs to help shadow and cover that. Take away one receiver and give that defense, whether it's Micah Parsons or Vander Esch, whatever, to get in and just get Brock Purdy out of the pocket is gonna cause a long way. It's gonna be the amount of time in the trenches that each quarterback's given.
Okay,
I think either quarterback can win it.
Outside of the quarterback, what's the ultimate X factor?
The ultimate X factor for this game is going to be Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks. Look, everybody's expecting me to say CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Tony Pollard. No. Brandon Cooks was brought in, and not for big money or any big a 5th and a 6th round pick. That's not big. He wasn't being utilized. He hated being in Houston. He has a lot of talent. We haven't seen it yet. And if there's any game to show why they brought him in as a Cowboy, it's this one. He has to show up with 8+ receptions, over 100 yards, and a touchdown. That's what needs to happen.
We're thinking the same side of the ball. We're thinking the same team, different player.
Okay.
Mike McCarthy. That's the X factor. Mike McCarthy, let's be real honest about this. Mike McCarthy's the reason why they've lost in the playoffs to the Niners last 2 years. I get it. Kellen Moore called the quarterback run with Dak a couple of years ago, but Mike McCarthy okays every play.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
and he had his moments last year where he wasn't great. This is now a chance for Mike McCarthy to, I don't want to say establish the Cowboys because they're established, but to make his mark early in the season.
Silence the league.
Yeah, silence the critics. Let him eat at the buffet table a little bit with Daniel Vogelback. I mean, come on. Don't criticize the guy, but this is this is a huge game for Mike McCarthy. This is not a big game this is a big game for the Niners on paper. But if the Niners lose, no one's going to sit there and say, okay, the Niners stink. They're still going to be 4-1. Dallas loses this game and they go to 3-2.
It's a whole different story.
A whole different ball game because they still have to play Philly twice.
Yep. And this game will be be the most watched game of the season right now. I mean, that's easy to be said. We're only in the 5th week. So, however, I would expect this game alone to go down as the top 3 watched of the entire NFL season.
And I think you'll agree with me on this. Offensively for the Niners, this is the toughest matchup the Cowboys defense has played.
Yep.
So,
and let's flip the side on that. San Francisco is not 4-0 for a reason. They're a good football team, but they haven't faced a defense like Dallas yet either. So this is Brock Purdy's real true test in the first half of the season. I'm not saying of his career. I'm just saying of the first half of this season. San Francisco's 4-0 for a reason. They're a good damn football team. But I don't think Brock Purdy has faced a defense that is so geared to stopping the pass as well. So, I mean, we just can call it on both sides. It's going to just be that good of a game. And for anybody who loves watching the two of us, the SIN network will be live for Sunday Night Football tonight with me, Mark Oldup's Guy Halpern, possibly Mike the Pun Master Rifkin. He was not sure. Lawrence Patchman Lang, and we might be having somebody else. Not sure yet. Friend of mine, maybe.
All right.
I'm actually considering bringing a San Francisco fan.
Do you really want to do that?
Well, he's a good close friend, and we're going to do it anyway, so why not?
Right. All right. So those are the games we're looking at. A couple of rapid fires. One we'll take out because we just really talked about the X Factors for the Sunday night game. So, Mark, is Ravens-Steelers the best modern-day rivalry in the NFL?
It's a fun one, but it's still not the best. To me, the best Packers-Lions.
Ooh, I'll go Ravens-Steelers. I love it. And which Wilson has the bigger game, Zach or Russell? We talked about this before. I think we both think
Zach Wilson. Yeah, Zach Wilson. I'm saying 4 touchdowns.
All right. Final question of the day. Mark, who's the fantasy player of the day?
My fantasy player of the day is, God, I almost forgot his name. Montgomery, my Detroit running back. Going to have 100+ yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs was listed as doubtful.
David Montgomery. Jesus, sorry about that.
I'm not sure if he's been ruled inactive yet. Not sure if those.
He was. Jahmyr Gibbs is out for today.
He's out. Gibbs is out. All right. For me, and I'm saying this one, and it's kind of is a tough one. This is the game. If there's ever a game for this guy to happen, it's today. Jamar Chase. The Bengals need this game against the Arizona Cardinals.
I think he needs it, considering he just requested a trade.
He might request a trade later.
He did, officially, yesterday.
He might just stay in Arizona, but I think the Bengals, they need the game. No T. Higgins. It's a big game for the Bengals. All right. That'll do for the Week 5 edition of the Sunday Sideline Report. We're on every Sunday morning here on the SIN YouTube page. The network is on the socials. Follow us on Twitter at SInsanityReal. We're also on Facebook. Check out the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com for great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. For the old ops guy.
And the dugout of Millwood.
I mean, I bring that up at the end when I bring up the
but I was
sponsors.
making that.
When I bring it up. For the old ops guy, I'm Mike Griffith. Thank you for listening to Sunday Sideline Report here on the SIN YouTube page, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood.